Go to manage.autodesk.com. Sign into your Autodesk account. Once you are signed in, go to all products and services and search for Forma. Once you've typed in Forma or scroll down to find it, as soon as you find the Forma pane, you can click on Access. As soon as the page starts loading, you will have to select your hub region. I'm going to select EU in this case. Once it is loaded, you can click on your profile. When the home page is loaded, you will see the projects that you've been working on with some other information on your main screen and on the side right-hand panel. So to make an example, we're going to create a new project. We're going to click on New Project. As soon as you click on New Project, you will find a map that is similar to Google Earth. And you can either type in the location over there if you have the coordinates or the address of your site. Otherwise, you can just scroll into the specific area if you know where it is. And as you could see, the site around now has been whitened out with a little pane here that indicates a site. So now I can determine how far I want to zoom in or out and how much context I would like around my site. So I'm going to look here on my right hand side at the bottom of the pane. There is confirmed map area. So if you click on this, your site will be generated. So you can pan around or zoom in and out and decide how much context you would like. There's also a button here at the bottom that you can click and it will show you a Google view that is realistic compared to the normal view. I'm just going to go back to the default and I'm happy with the site extent over here. As you can see here on the side, it's giving you all the information with regards to the site. The square meters, the length, the area, latitude, longitude, and then I'm going to click on Confirm Map Area. If you click on Confirm Map Area, it's going to load. And after that, you're going to need to go to the library to order some content. This process usually takes a while depending on how much information and existing content there is on the site and in which region you are. If you select a more common region like American cities or European cities, then there's much more detailed information with regards to the contours, for example. But you can go anywhere in the world on the map and you can go and select your area. As soon as your site has loaded, then a window pops up to indicate that there are some data that you can order with your site. We have our existing buildings. So this will create a 3D mass indicating the existing building's approximate size and extent. You can also select terrain. It's not that accurate in this area where I've selected in South Africa. The topography is accurate up to 30 meters. And then you also have roads where the existing roads are brought in as actual roads that you can use in the software for analysis. So these are just three of the basic free data that you can order to go with your site. There are plenty more that you can go and select, but some of them you need to buy or you can import it. But in this case, I'm just going to look at the bare basics, and I'm going to click on buildings because I want my existing buildings. I'm going to click on roads, and then I'm going to click on the site. So you can just click on what you want. It will show you your map again, which will relate to the specific data that I ordered just now. And I can go and click on order just as you would go and create your site. So this is your next step. You just click on your order for the existing buildings. So I've downloaded that, I've ordered that. Now I'm going to click on the roads. I'm happy with the area that's selected. I'm going to keep it the same for all of them. I'm going to order this one. And I'm going to select the site so that I have a site where I can do my massing on. Alright, so once you've done that, then you can close here, and here you can see your site. If you go to 3D, you can see over there you've got your site now. So now, to add the existing information that we've ordered, we can go to our library here on the left hand side panel. I'm going to click on library, and you'll see that some of the content that I have just ordered will appear there, and now I can go and apply it. So I'm going to select my site, and now it's going to generate the actual site for me. Now I'm going to click on update terrain. Now I'm going to click on my buildings for the existing content, and this one usually takes a while depending on how detailed the information is in the area and how dense the area is built up. This one is pretty quick. It's just created the predominantly sizable buildings around this site and the actual buildings on the site. I'm going to click on add over here, and now you can see that you have your buildings in 3D, which is just an indication of the footprint of the building and the approximate height. So this is a low-rise area, but if you had to do this in a city with some skyscrapers, you would have the actual skyscrapers in this model. So I'm just going to go back to 2D, and I'm going to add my roads. You can pan up by holding your mouse in, your mouse wheel, and panning up and down. And if you want to scroll around in 3D, you would do it similarly to what you do it in Revit. Keep Alt Shift in and use your mouse to navigate. I'm just going to go back to my 2D view, and I'm going to select my roads. As you can see here, the blue lines indicate now that it's actually going to put roads in, just like you would have on Google Maps, where you can drag the little man and have a street view. It's similar to that with regards to storing information, where you would use in analysis. So I'm going to add the roads to my site, and now you can see that I've got my roads, my existing content, and everything is ready for me. So now, if I wanted to add more, I can import more or order more data. And let's just run through this left hand side panel. As you can see, it's giving me roughly an indication of where it is. Then you've got your library, your extensions, and then project members, where you can add other colleagues to your project. And you also have this compare option, where you can have a look at two different designs and compare the analysis of the two by looking at what differences it has once you've got your two different designs, for example, and you want to see what wind impact the one has versus the other one. So I'm just going to go back over here to the library and just leave it on there for now. And there we are back in our site. So we're going to have a look at the right hand side panel over here. Earlier on, when we had a look at the analysis, the different types of analysis, you can see them over here on the right hand side panel of your window. You've got your area metrics, you've got your sun hours, you've got your daylight potential, wind, temperature, and so on. We've covered most of this earlier. Now we're just going to have a look at how to navigate yourself within Forma. So once you've set up your site, here are your different building tools that you can use. So I'm just going to have a look at the first one, which is your building. So you can create a mass in any shape that you like for your conceptual design, Or if it's a bigger design and you're doing an urban area with a whole bunch of buildings, then you can use these options that come in very handy. You've got linear buildings, you've got basic buildings, which draws the floor in any shape, and you can control this one quite extensively compared to the line buildings, which is just based on a line, but they also have parameters set to them and are also quite flexible. And then you've got your typical kind of house with a pitch roof style. If you've got rows of townhouses or flats or social housing, then this will be quite a nice tool to use. It draws a row of single houses, but there's also parameters attached to this that you can change and add and have different house types if you're doing a site development plan, for example. So we're just going to have a look at some of the other features. We've got trees, and we've got the site. It shows you the site limits and the zone, the constraints, roads, and massing, measuring tools. So there's a whole lot of modeling tools over here within Forma that you can use. You can also do your mass model in Revit should you wish, and then import it into Forma and run all of these analyses we've looked at earlier on. So for now, we're just going to have a look at a few basics and just look at what kind of parameters these functions have. So let's try the line building. So I've clicked on line building. Immediately at the bottom of the right-hand pane, you can see there's some information that I can change here or update. So I've got my width at 12 meters. The building's going to have 4 stories. The stories are going to be 3 meters high. This is the default information that's in here already. I can go now and change this if I wish. Then you've got the function of having the line building in sections, so you can modify them afterwards. And then the width of the building, you can add floor plans, and you can also say that you have circulation spaces where you can also calculate some information for you, and you can determine the width of the circulation space in the center of the building. If this is not what you want, then go and have a look at the other massing tools that are available. There are quite a few that have different functions that you can generate different results. So let's just have a look at when we draw this. So I'm going to go to this site over here, and I'm going to draw a line building like that. Just for the sake of the exercise, I'm not going to worry about what the design looks like or how it fits into the existing content. So this is the line building we've just created now. So if I go click on this building, you can see over here I can change some of the information. I can make the building wider, I can add more stories, I can change the floor to ceiling heights, I can determine whether I want the building in sections or not, and of course more dimensional functions. You can also go to functions under the line building information, and you can go specify whether this is commercial, residential, offices, and you can also go and add functions if you want to have different zones indicated at this early stage. So we're going to have a look now at how the other functions work. I'm just going to go back to my 2D. As you can see here now, this building is showing me some nice building information on how many square meters I have, how many units I have. It also all depends on how much information you put in from the beginning, but these are all flexible and you can change it as you go along. If you're not happy with your analysis after you've done your conceptual design, then you can just go and change it or create another project, a second proposal, where you can compare the two and run the analysis and check which one has a better result, and then change your design accordingly. I'm just going to do one more of these line buildings. I'm going to go to the house, and let's see what we have over here. So if we click on house, then you can see over here is also some information that can be updated, just as we did with the previous building. So after clicking on my house icon, I can now go and draw my row of houses, and I can go around and create any urban context that I wish to create. And let's have a look at that in 3D. And there we've got our rows of houses. And as with the other building, these houses are also flexible. You can change the dimensions, you can change the floor levels, and you can decide whether you want to on default and create new types of houses. So if you are doing a bigger development with some different house types within one estate, then this function can come in quite handy, with also the same kind of information that we had with the previous building. So there's our houses. So now we're going to move on from our standard building types and have a look over here. We've got more massing over here, which works similarly to how massing works in Revit. You draw the outline and then create a volume. So when you're doing an odd shaped building, this is the kind of function you would use. Once you've done the shape, you can edit it into any form that you want to. And we've got the surface function and also line functions. Here we've got a 3D sketch option, and the little example there in the tooltips is quite interesting. Just notice how once you've created a side profile of a building, for example a factory like this, you can extrude a building from that, and after you've extruded it, you can still edit it and push half of it back. So it's also a very nice function. I'm going to go back to my site now. We've created some buildings. There's a lot that you guys can play around and go and see all the different functions there are. There's quite a lot, but they all work in a similar way. One thing about Forma, it is very user-friendly, and it's quite flexible. So let's have a look. We're going back to our 2D view now, and let's just have a look at our existing building over here, which is the shopping mall. Say for instance this was now a warehouse that was going to be demolished, and this is on your site. You can edit the existing content that came with the site when we ordered these existing content buildings. So I can go click on that building, and I can go to edit base over here, and I can go and delete the building. I can edit the base, and then I can go and delete the building or change some functions on the building, add some. So the existing buildings are also flexible. So I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to say I want to delete it. So if you have an existing building that you are going to be demolishing, then you can just edit the base, click on the building, and delete the building. I'm going to delete this over here. Now we have a full site that we can develop. Just to show you that the existing content, you can also add more detail if it's important to your project to have the existing content a bit more accurate. You can go and add some more detail there, but the basic massing will already be there. So now I'm going to click on Done Editing My Base, which is my site, and I'm just going to go to my original view and just zoom into the site there. So now let's have a look at some other functions other than the massing of buildings. You've got trees, trees in areas, which is all just different tools of creating different types of sets. For example, the line of trees is going to be which we'll use along a road. If you have a park with an area of trees, you can click on area of trees. You indicate which area you want to cover with trees. Say for example it's this parking lot over here, and there you've got your trees. So, and this also has a huge impact on your analysis for noise pollution, basically on busy roads. This will create a nice buffer. So if you do your analysis that relates to the noise in the road and so on, having trees next to the road will make a difference to the analysis. And of course the trees you can also edit. You can decide on the left hand pane here, you can decide how high you want these trees to be, and how far apart they must be from each other. So that's also some additional information on the side here. Whenever you use one of those tools, it's actually quite advisable to always look here at the bottom on the right hand pane at the bottom, just to check what options you have available for the particular function. So now I'm going to go to my site and I'm going to put in my site limit, which is basically my site boundary. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to click there and I'm going to define my site boundary, and it's basically all along this road up to there, and I'm going to just bring it across over here, and there I've got my site. Now immediately it gives me the site area. So now I've got more information here with regards to the site, and the site is actually defined, and when you do your analysis you can select whether you want to do it within your site or with some existing content around it, depending on the area that you select. So then we also have our line of trees that we can use, line of trees. So I'm just going to put one line here where our buildings is over here, and that's it. So over here you just click on the tree line and you create your trees, and it will create your trees. Again, with the trees you have the function for the height and the spacing in between and other information, where it must be on the line, on the side, on the bottom side, or on the center of your line, depending on what you use as a reference. Let's have a look at some more options. There's measuring tools where you can measure the distances between your buildings if you are creating spaces where you want to allow for roads. And then of course we've got roads. So let's have a look at what we can do with roads. I'm going to click on roads, and I'm just going to go and draw in some roads. I'm going to extend this existing road into my site and connect it with the road on the other side of my site. And I can do internal roads, I can link them up to existing roads, and now you can see there we've got a road. So when you do your analysis, this will be part of the calculation when you've got a road. On this road you've got the width of the road that you can manipulate over here. Always look at the bottom right hand corner of your right hand pane when you are using these tools. So I've got a road there, and I can go draw in more roads here in between the buildings, whatever my site design is going to be. And as you can see, it's also got this blue line, so now it's part of your analysis. Now it's going to calculate noise, for example, and you can go and add more information here at the bottom, as you can always do, your speed and different daily traffic scenarios, and you can go and add in all that kind of information over there if you have it to your disposal, which will also help to achieve more detailed analysis that's quite accurate. Now I'm just going to have a look at the measuring. We have had a look at measuring, where you can measure the distances in between, and then there are some other functions over here. So now we've got our site. We've got our site boundaries, we've got the square meters, we've put some buildings in, we've just done a few to show you an example of how it works. So you can do a full site development plan with lots of buildings and then have some nice content to do an analysis with. So this is basically your introduction to how to navigate around in your Forma window once you've opened the software. And these are all the building tools that are available to you with all the relevant information. And then at the top here we have our analysis, and on the left hand side we've got our library, sharing, and more information with regards to our site and our options. There we've got proposal 1, and as I've mentioned earlier on, you can create a proposal 2 and then compare the two to check which one offers the best results. And over here we've got our layers. We've got basically our site, which is the data that we ordered earlier on from Google Earth, similar to Google Earth. Then we've got our vegetation layer, and we've got our roads layer, and then the terrain, and of course our buildings. So this is your basics on Forma, and some more little tools here at the bottom with camera views, guides and measurements, your 3D, where north is very important, and that is a few of the principles on how to go into Forma and actually create a site that is realistic with all this existing content. And the powerful part of this entire process is the analysis that we had a look on earlier on. And then, of course, a huge bonus to have with this is so that you can have this existing content. Now, when you export this to Revit, all this information will come along, including the existing information of the existing built environment around your site, which also helps tremendously. It saves you a lot of time going to mass these buildings from photos or from Google Maps by tracing. The information is already here. If I saw with a click of a button, you can have all the existing content and the existing buildings around here. I can also go into more detail and divide my site into zones. Say, for example, I have a residential section, I've got a mixed use section, I might have some retail and offices. I can group all of these into different zones on my site and then have all the information with regards to your area metrics. So you can have a nice schedule of how your area has been set up, how it's been broken up into different zones, what kind of buildings you have in there, their heights, their massing, the impact that it has on the built environment, and how the built environment is going to have an effect on your concept design in the model. And after you have completed your site and you've gone into detail and you are happy with what you've got, then you can start and go run these analysis as we've looked at earlier on in the presentation.